That will, through the morning, lift and it will break up. Eventually, we'll see some sunny spells break through. I think still some cloud remaining, still some showers across England and Wales, but not as many as recent days. There'll be plenty of fine weather on offer and it will feel warmer. 26 Celsius there, the high in the southeast, low 20s widely elsewhere. And into Sunday, again, a bit of a slow start. Some mist and fog first thing, especially for southern parts of the UK. Breezier further north with some outbreaks of rain for the north and northwest of Scotland. That tends to ease later in the day as sunshine develops widely across the country in time for the start of next week. And as that happens, temperatures rise.
The temperature's rising. Boxed Solar, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
The Live Desk with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Pip Thompson. It's here Monday to Friday on GB News.
From midday, we'll bring you the news as it breaks, whenever it's happening and wherever it's happening, from across the UK and around the world.
Refreshing, feisty, but with a bit of fun too.
If it matters to you, we'll have it covered on TV, radio and online.
Join the Live Desk on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
So Jubes and Kerr, we tackle the issues of the day with real robust debate, both sides of the fence, battling it out with me in the middle with my forthright opinions and views. And often really interesting things happen because you start with a position and then by the end of the debate you find actually, well, I might not have thought about that one.
What we need in this country is 2 new political parties.
You should maybe think about doing a 2024 calendar. I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm keeping you company right through until 7 o'clock this evening.
GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's watching.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton, for 2 hours packed full of unfiltered opinions, unique takes and fiery debates. I guarantee you blockbuster guests and exclusive reporting with no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I think there is a culture of collusion, quite frankly.
And no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In a world of dull and predictable radio and TV shows.
Oh, hi. On Mark Dolan tonight, we've got big guests. We drill into the big stories of the day. The show adds up to a brilliant listening and viewing experience. Mark Dolan Tonight is the most entertaining current affairs show ever, and that's a fact. That's Mark Dolan Tonight, Friday, Saturday and Sunday from 9. Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Like all families, we have arguments every now and then, but actually we agree on what the mission of GB News is, and that's the most fundamentally important thing.
GB News provides the kind of platform that lets all voices be heard.
We don't hold back. We're free to say what we really think.
Just because some people who live in a tiny little Westminster bubble think that their particular story is important, that's not the most important story for me.
And often they will be difficult stories, stories that you won't find on the establishment media.
Because what people think in the north of England may be very different to what they're thinking in their home counties.
We're going to carry on telling the world what life is really like for households up and down the UK.
We love to be in your car, in your kitchen as you're having your breakfast. Whatever you're doing, you are part of the show. If it matters to you, it matters to us.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
I'm Lisa Hartle in the GB newsroom. Former Harrods and Fulham FC owner Mohammed Al Fayed has died at the age of 94. In a statement released by the football club, his family confirmed that Mr Al Fayed passed away peacefully of old age on Wednesday. His passing comes almost 26 years after his son was killed alongside Princess Diana in a car crash in Paris. Fulham Football Club has paid tribute, writing that they owed him a debt of gratitude for what he did for the club. More schools may be forced to close due to a particular kind of concrete that's prone to sudden collapse. Abbey Lane Primary in Sheffield is one of over 150 in England at risk. Others in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland are also being assessed. A TikTok influencer and her mother have been jailed for life for murdering 2 men. Mehek and Azreen Bakhari ambushed the pair and killed them during a high-speed car chase near Leicester in February last year. Saqib Hussain, who was travelling with Mohammed Hashim Ijazuddin, had threatened to reveal an affair he'd had with the social media star's mother. The women will serve a minimum term of more than 31 and 26 years, respectively. Janine McKinney, Chief Crown Prosecutor, spoke after the trial.
Throughout the investigation and trial, we have seen continued lies and deceit from the defendants as they tried to evade responsibility for the killings. They showed complete disdain for the lives of their victims, and they showed little remorse for their actions. The families of the two young men who so tragically lost their lives at the hands of these defendants have patiently endured a lengthy and complex legal process as we brought these defendants to justice.
The number of migrants per boat crossing the Channel has hit a new monthly high. More than 5,000 people made the journey in August in 102 boats. That's an average of 53 people per vessel. The overall number of crossings is around 20% less than this time last year. Another wave of rail strikes has hit services across the country. Members of the ASLEF union are staging a 24-hour walkout, leaving many trains without drivers. The rail delivery group describes the action as unnecessary, but the union says the government is refusing to make a reasonable pay offer. And passengers will face continued disruption tomorrow as the RMT union will walk out over pay and conditions. The disputes, which started over a year ago, remains at a deadlock. This is GB News across the UK on TV, in your car, on digital radio and on your smart speaker by saying play GB News. Now it's time for Headliners.
Hello and welcome to Headliners, the show where comedians try to make aerated concrete funny. I'm Nick Dixon, the People's host, and I'm joined tonight by our resident token lefty, Josh Howie. There he is, look at him, look at that shirt. Pure Grand Theft Auto. And we've got the friendly face of the far right, it's Nicholas DeSanto. I'm sorry, Nicholas, I just thought I'd throw you under the bus there. We love you on the show, though. How many times have you done it?
I take it. This is my 5th time.
You've had great feedback, so hopefully it'll be a good one tonight. Josh, you all right? You dig a little...
people still hate me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, you've got a small fan base.
Yeah,
hardcore.
I'll tell you what, look, mug. Someone made a mug.
Someone made a mug.
Someone made a mug.
What does it say? Just Josh Howie? Oh, just no nickname.
No, it's got, yeah, there is a nickname. Big, compliments of Big Pop. Yeah, no nickname.
No nickname, because mine got the top dog, which was so close.
You gave yourself that nickname. It doesn't count if you create your own nickname.
Well, they got it wrong. It's the Big Dog, and they got it wrong. So I'd rather just have just a plain name.
Well, thank you to whoever made this.
Have something to aspire to.
That's it, mate. When you get sent a mug, you've made it.
Yeah, first-time watchers have no idea what we're talking about, but it'll become clear soon. All right, let's have a look at the front pages then. So, the Daily Mail has hundreds more schools at risk. That's about the concrete. We'll be covering that in a minute. The Daily Telegraph, Braverman woke police, damaging police trust. The Times, when will this school crisis end? Ask parents. The Financial Times, weekend revisions give economy surprise lift. The Eye, hundreds more schools await safety checks despite collapse, risk warning to ministers in 2019. Bit of a mouthful. The Mirror, what a mess. And those are your front pages. So let's have a look at the Times, Josh.
Yes, when will this school crisis end? Ask parents. So this is going into day 3 now of this concrete crisis. It seems like the instigating factor was, and they've known about this for, only 30, 40 years or whatever, but it seems like a school that was judged safe just kind of collapsed, as you do, and they were like, oh, you know what, maybe we should get on with this now. So they haven't published a list. The Department of Education are not publishing a list. They're saying for operational reasons, basically because they don't know what they're doing. But they have assured us that it's a minority of schools, but that word minority might be doing some heavy lifting. It might be 49% of schools. This is, I don't want to just bag on the Tories just for doing, but yeah,
Yeah,
right,
you'd hate
come
to
on,
do
yeah,
that.
right. But this is just more
But it's not, is it really
incompetence.
the Tories? I mean, they thought this stuff was good back in the day when they used it. Like, they thought it was lighter was the idea.
They've had 13 years to get on top of this.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm not a fan of this Tory government, but it's just, I don't know. It has changed the goalposts for school inspections, hasn't it? It used to be like, how many maths GCSEs, A to C's have you got? Now it's just, is the school standing, guys?
If we ever needed another argument for homeschooling, just stay at home, avoid indoctrination.
I love the way you
and
do you have kids?
troubles.
Do you have kids?
Yeah, I have
kids?
two.
Do you homeschool them?
Yeah, I want my wife to do that because she's also a teacher assistant.
Josh, do you really homeschool them? Or did your wife?
No, I would like to. Well, the first one has just started reception. So,
okay, fine. Just trust me. You don't want to do homeschooling.
I don't want them to end up under rubble.
Well, that's a tricky one.
He did sort of get you on that, though. You went hard thinking he didn't have kids.
I went
he had two, and you were like,
He just doesn't seem like someone who's got children. He seems far too young. But no, I mean, after 2-3 years of homeschooling during COVID, I like the chance of rubble. Give me a percentage of how much chance there is of getting rubble. But the other thing is that the government have basically said that whilst they're going to be sort of paying to fix it, ultimately, of course, they're saying that any emergency measures they're not going to be taking out of the DfE budget, which basically really messes up schools' budgets because they're already suffering.
Yeah. And by the way, what is this concrete that is supposed to last for 30 years? I mean, Romans arguably invented concrete, and there are some Roman buildings still standing. Why is this supposed to last?
I never thought you'd do a Roman concrete flex on us so early in the show. You're saying your people built much better.
I'm using my chauvinistic cards too early.
Yeah. No, fine, go ahead. I mean, I thought did they use concrete or did they use also rocks?
Well, of course, but They did a mix.
It was Jewish slaves who built all that stuff anyway.
Let's not go there.
Okay.
Well, he's playing the Jewish card too early.
When I was at school, I mean, not to make light of it,
too early.
Weren't you always wishing for a day off when you were at school? Like concrete, snow, anything?
I don't think they wished for 5 years off, which is what it's going to end up being.
But, we were Northern State school kids. Let's do the Telegraph then, Nicholas.
Okay, Braverman, woke police damaging public trust. It's not the first time she's saying this, but this time the Home Secretary is tasking the Chief Inspector of Constabulary to investigate woke policing, shall we call it? Because she argues that trust in the police is being eroded by the police doing essentially silly things, taking sides in very controversial issues, taking the knee, dancing with the protesters, going after thought crimes, and even when there's no crime, they register it as a crime incident or hate incident. What is an incident? If it's not a crime, just let it go.
An autistic boy drops a Quran and it gets scuffed, and that's recorded as a hate incident, and then you've got the police sitting with people who have sort of said, no, we're not calling for the guy to be harmed or anything, but here's a big press conference of us all appeasing this thing. As she says very clearly, we do not have those laws in this country in terms of whatever it's called, where you
hate speech. Blasphemy.
Blasphemy laws and whatnot. And you also had a couple of weeks ago, I think it's at West Yorkshire Police, where they arrested an autistic
16-year-old autistic girl
for basically saying you look like the haircut of my nan who's a lesbian. Who's a lesbian. She has short hair, basically. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with having short hair.
And by the way, West Yorkshire Police did another one shortly after that.
You look a bit like my lesbian nan, by the way.
Thanks, mate. That's a hate crime, so we'll deal with that. It's a non-crime hate incident.
It's more the beard.
Not only that, though, Josh, West Yorkshire Police, after that, arrested a woman for taking a photograph of a gender-critical sticker that was attached to a trans billboard. I mean, this is the kind of thing she's talking about. My question, though, is, can Suella Braverman do anything about it? Because it seems like every third day we have a story. Suella Braverman says woke policing's gone too far, or some other woke thing's gone too far, but then nothing happens.
Well, we had this with Priti Patel and her department as well. It's civil servants essentially resisting the will of the people. You have elected government officials who want to basically go for policies for which they have a mandate, but whether it's Brexit or neutral, impartial policing, there's a lot of resistance.
Well done for bringing Brexit into it. But yeah, it is ridiculous, and it is every, like you say, a couple of days they're doing this. She's now saying they're going to open an official investigation into it. But yeah, this is even in her previous role as an Attorney General. She was still saying, police, just get on with policing, basically.
Yeah. The takeaway for the people is that if your house has been burglarized, the police don't show up, just say you've been misgendered. They probably will show up.
Good call. And all right, well, I mean, it is shocking. It keeps happening. I think Nicholas is right. This is a civil service run amok. But also, I like that you attacked him for bringing in Brexit. He just brought in Roman architecture 2 minutes ago, so he's prepared to go there. Let's have a look then at the Mirror and the death of Al Fayed, Josh.
Yes, Al Fayed dies at 94. And you know what? They finally got to him. They were saying for years, the security, you know, I don't want to get into, like, who they are.
No, because we don't want a tweet thread.
We don't want to, but, you know, the fact is, they finally, you know, it's taken decades, but, you know, they got their revenge. Say no more.
Yeah, it's not normally you that talks about them, Josh. It's normally you saying it's not them.
Well, it's the joke, because he's 94.
I got it.
You got it? OK.
I got it. He's 94, but he had an interesting, colourful life. He got Fulham into the Premier League, so that was pretty big. He actually started off selling fizzy drinks in Alexandria in Egypt, kind of a, you know, inauspicious beginnings, but he did something quite clever. He married, not saying he did it cynically at all, but he married, his wife was the sister of a Saudi millionaire or billionaire, which it does help a bit. That marriage lasted 2 years, but you know,
he got the money, got the down payment.
I'm not saying that. I'm just giving some facts out. Nicholas, what do you think?
Well, it's less of a somber fact, but I remember him for putting a statue of Michael Jackson in front of Craven Cottage. Is that Fulham's venue? If I'm not a fan of Fulham, but that was quite controversial.
You're a fan of Michael Jackson?
Not particularly, but that was
the music only.
I think he'd be. You'd make a really good Michael Jackson impersonator.
Really?
Yeah, you've sort of captured him in his later years.
Are you trying to get me walking into a trap or something?
No.
He's saying you've got the charisma and the preferences.
Okay, I'll take that. The preferences, maybe not.
So, just kidding. Yeah, you know, he did do that. Some people thought it was tasteless. Do you think it was fun or what?
I think it was quite, well, to see that glass half full. He didn't care what a sizable proportion of Fulham fans thought about it. He said, this is a great artist. Whoever doesn't like it, they can...
Yeah, he was that kind of guy. Sort of, yeah, you're gone.
And, well, I've got some exclusive information about him.
OK.
A friend of mine at school, her first job was working as he had, like, a whole room full of assistants. And he used to sort of, one day, he'd go up to someone and say, oh, come with me, and then he'd take them to the female shoe department, and then they could pick out whatever shoes they wanted.
Really?
So there you go. This is journalism. Headliners journalism coming
breaking. Inside information.
They didn't have to, like, repay it in any mischievous way.
OK, good. And on a serious note as well, his son did, of course, die in that tragic crash with Diana. It must have been a strange
Why have you always got to bring... Every time you've got to bring up Diana?
Well, it's serious. And also, you know, it must have been strange to have the death of your son overshadowed by Diana, as it would be overshadowed by pretty much anyone when it's Diana.
Of course.
But I thought we should get that in, Josh, but you look upset.
OK, you've gone for an interesting angle there.
Well, I thought I should get the important facts in, and then we'll do the comedy. The next section will be all the comedy, guys. So stick around for that. That is it for part one. But coming up, Grant Shapps gets hacked, Sadiq Khan gets even more unpopular. See you in a minute.
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.
It's a conversation. It's not just me and Eamon.
We want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us.
From 6, it's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Monday to Thursdays on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster is going around in ever-decreasing circles, followed by the media. Britain is broken. How on earth did we get into this mess? But more importantly, how do we get out of it? Join me at 7 p.m, Mondays to Thursdays on Farage, here on GB News. We will have open, rational debate. We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this. Join us here on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain is watching.
When the news happens, it happens here.
And really important breaking news.
Breaking news this morning.
On TV, radio and online, the news starts here on Britain's Newsroom.
All the biggest stories and the answers that you need from across the UK and beyond.
Join Britain's Newsroom from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Patrick Christie's, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6. We tackle the day's news agenda like you've never seen before. It's high tempo, high octane, the most controversial topics and the best guests. You will not be able to take your eyes and ears off it. I'm not afraid to ask the questions that you really want answered. 3 till 6 p.m, Monday to Friday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
People in Britain, they love free speech, but they also love fair play.
I don't care if I'm speaking somebody from a trade union, from the Labour Party, somebody from the SNP. And I think the viewers like to see that actually we can challenge one another, but in a positive way.
We think we ask the questions that people want to ask, and often we ask the questions that we wanted to ask in Parliament but never got the chance to ask.
So join us every Saturday, 10 a.m. till noon on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
It's all about family, being in people's living rooms, all the interaction and getting to know who our viewers and listeners are.
When I was young, my dad used to say, Nana, stop arguing. I wanted an outlet that would enable me to give my opinion.
People are going through a really hard time right now, and I know that you don't feel like you're being listened to by the establishment. I came to GB News because it's the people's channel, and I want the audience to have their say on the events of the day.
We're dynamic. We do something different. Democracy shows that the wisdom of the nation is in its people.
I get to travel to find out what the story is from a personal perspective.
The British people aren't fools. We know when we're not being told the full story.
We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this.
It's the best country in the world.
The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent your views.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Nick Dixon, still here with Josh Howie. There he is, that's him, and Nicholas DeSanto. Look at him, looking good. Let's do the Independent now. And good news for the British economy, or at least the bad news we had wasn't accurate, which is the closest we get to good news now, isn't it, Nicholas?
Yeah, I'll take it. Britain no longer an economic outlier after extraordinary GDP upgrade by ONS. So ONS, Office of National Statistics, has reevaluated Britain's economic performance GDP-wise. So previously it was thought Britain had not re-entered the parameters that existed before COVID and lockdown. This was a favorite talking point by the Labour, that Britain is the only G7 nation that hasn't recovered to pre-COVID levels. But now they have basically modified, in light of new information, the GDP figures, and they have concluded that actually by the end of 2021, Britain had re-entered those previous measures.
Yeah, it got up 0.6% rather than down 1.2%. And I don't know, it's a tough for the Remainers who hate Britain and always say we're doing worse than everyone. What do you think, Josh?
Well, I think the point is that we would be doing even better. But whatever, that's a separate thing here. Of course, this is great news, and hopefully that'll boost a bit of confidence, more investment. Unfortunately, I mean, as Jeremy Hunt says, the Chancellor says, we're not out of the woods, basically. The woods are still burning. We don't know if it was arson or not, or global warming, but there is still some burning going on. Our manufacturing has been steadily declining. House prices are going down. So this is good. Like, things are not as bad, and we should enjoy that for the next 30 seconds or so?
Yeah.
Before the next crisis comes along?
Apparently, we can look forward to healthy growth. I mean, of course, it is Hunt saying this, which will be faster than Germany, France and Italy.
In the long term.
In the long term.
So 50 years.
Yeah, and you're likely outperforming Germany even now.
Yeah,
Well, they have their individual issues that they're fighting.
Yeah, although it doesn't say how much immigration we'll rely on to get there. But one thing I like, Nicholas, it says...
Immigration and Brexit!
It says... You're right, Josh, if you're taking your medication, you should... I've
had my coffee.
Shouting a lot. So it neuters a key attack line for Labour. Do you think this makes any difference to Labour, Nicholas? That's what it says here.
Well, it is a key attack line, but of course, we know Tories have not been performing very well in other departments as well. Immigration, one of them. Inflation. And we were just talking about policing. So it remains to be seen.
Yeah, Nick, relax, mate. Don't worry. The Tories have done loads of rubbish that Labour can attack them on. It's OK.
Yeah, do you know I've never actually voted Tories, so there's this idea, like very black and white idea.
You're a Lib Dem guy, aren't you?
I actually voted for a obscure Christian party. The last time, because you know where we live, Josh.
BNP.
Labour's going to win by get lost. Labour's going to win by so much anyway. I just do a sort of a conscience vote. So I voted to protect the lives of the unborn, because who else is going to do it? And on that bombshell, let's do the Independent. And it seems our new Defence Secretary has either been doing fake posts or his account is incredibly easy to hack. To quote Tom Petty, I can't decide which is worse.
Well, that's basically the whole story, isn't it? Yeah, the new Defence Secretary's YouTube account was hacked because the password is as easy as 1234. So this was during during the last election. Oh no, sorry, 2007 by-election, and essentially there was a sort of a comment made on YouTube, and it was by Grant Shapps' account. But it was sort of written in the third person and looking like it was basically trolling. And he went and said, no, it must be because someone hacked me because I had a really bad password, which is not a good look, certainly for someone who's now our defence secretary, but also more likely, is that it was actually like a sock puppet account. Do you have a sock puppet account?
I don't, Josh. Those are real fans. But the thing is, they have said, a Conservative spokesman has said they had no idea, that it does look like someone's been accessing his account. Of course, they would say that. Either way, it's bad. Also, it's quite comical that he said he refused to come off TikTok because he loves TikTok. He even posted the Wolf of Wall Street meme, "I'm not bleeping leaving." Exactly. Now he's left because he's defence secretary.
But his password, I think, is I love China.
I am Grant Shapps 1. What do you think, Nicholas?
What can be as easy as 1, 2, 3, 4, presumably 0, 0, 0, 0. But the alarming aspect is this TikTok thing. He says he has got a TikTok account on a non-work phone because it's important to keep in contact with its constituents. And also, while TikTok is banned from government devices, the source close to Mr. Shapps says that the UK Defence Ministry has an official TikTok account. I mean,
really?
That's where they do their dancing and whatnot.
But he has, to update you though, Nicholas, he has now left his personal one, reluctantly, and given it over to staff. Because I checked since this story's been published. That's
what was the last thing that he put out there?
Just his dinner photo of his wife.
Are there a lot of... Because it always reminds me of... Nick's joke when he says, follow me on Twitter, Facebook, etc. And on TikTok, if you're a 13-year-old girl. You know,
Do I say that? You made that sound so bad. I changed that joke.
You actually captured his essence.
That's because there was a relevant story at the time when I was doing that in stand-up about how it's being used by young people. I then changed it to if you're a Chinese spy.
Okay.
Thank you for...
I missed that
yeah, it's a very crucial detail,
But it wasn't a dig or anything. I'm just saying it is a well-known fact that TikTok is popular with the teenager population.
He's a big fan, Nicholas, of my comedy. Yeah.
Definitely.
He's a great comedian as well. Have you tried comedy?
We have done a wonderful gig together. He was very funny.
In Leeds,
all right. But it seems like the vibe is we should move on from that one. So let's get on to the Mail. And domestic abusers leaving prison will have to wear electronic tags, stopping them getting too close to their victims, which is why you're sat all the way over there, Nicholas, because of our whole thing.
Beep, beep, beep.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Looks at me blankly.
I'm being accused of all sorts of things. You were so complimentary until a few minutes ago. But domestic abusers leaving prison to wear electronic tags in pilot scheme. Basically, the idea is when they are out, on top of the prison sentence that they have already served, if they are deemed to be still a danger to their previous victims, there's going to be this GPS technology, these tags to prevent them from getting closer to them.
Yeah, I like it. It's good.
You're pro it?
Pro, absolutely, because these people who beat up their partners, they need to be observed still, and what they did is tremendously wrong. And of course, the victims, it doesn't just finish after the physical event itself. That fear continues. So for them to feel safer, I think, is a fantastic thing. There's also another thing that they've been pushing through, which is that it's preventing contact from prison to their former victims or whatever. And I think that's good as well. So anything that's going to help protect these people and their children, I think is a great thing.
Yeah, I suppose just for balance, the only thing I can think of, it's very hard to come up with another side to this.
Go pro domestic violence, Nick.
I'm going to have a go.
Some common
I'm going to have a go. The only thing would be if you're supposed to be falsely accused, which does happen, then you're stuck with a tag forever. But I haven't checked data on that. It does happen sometimes. Is that?
But to go to prison,
you're probably not.
Probably a wrong one.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. Well, I think we'll have to just end there.
You're so sad about that,
I thought
aren't
you get a bit more out of the story, but you guys
think Ofcom's going to come on and say you weren't, pro domestic violence enough?
No, it's just that now we've got to do 5 minutes on Sadiq Khan, but we'll do it. Let's do it. Let's do the Telegraph. And Sadiq Khan has finally got the message and dropped his hated ULEZ policy. Just kidding. He's deployed a fleet of camera vans, Josh.
Yeah, well, good luck doing 5 minutes on this. Sadiq Khan deploys ULEZ vans after vigilance attack cameras. So this is particularly in Bromley. I think it's like 80% 90% of the cameras in ULEZ cameras in Bromley have been destroyed, which is just a coincidence. That's where you're from, Nicholas, isn't it? That's where you live?
No, I live in North London.
Okay, that joke didn't work. And,
sorry for ruining the joke.
No, it's fine.
He does seem like the type that we out there smashing cameras at night.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's not going to work, Nicholas, so stop doing it, because they've got these little vans or little trucks or little mini cars.
The uprising shall continue.
Yeah, do it. Let's check under your nails, just make sure. And but yes, so they're now deploying those to fill in the gaps, essentially. And but it's amazing how much money has sort of been spent or will be spent to fix all these cameras and whatnot. It's look, they're not going to beat the system in this way. They're going to get caught eventually. Look, it sucks. I don't agree with it, but we're just going to have to lump it and get.
Well, I don't know about that. It kind of reminds me of the BBC vans when they had these vans that were meant to be checking your licence fee, and then it came out that it probably didn't do anything. They were just sort of there to threaten people. Why won't Sadiq Khan, Nicholas, get the message? This is an incredibly unpopular policy. Instead of listening to people and going, oh, maybe I should stop. People hate this policy so much. The moderate people of England, famously moderate, are out there smashing up cameras. I might listen to that and go, maybe this is not my best policy. Maybe this is my poll tax moment. And instead he just goes, no, vans, I want vans. What do you think?
Because they're arrogant, and this is their religion, the net zero thing, which even if achieved, as we know, Britain is just a small drop in this huge planet in terms of emission. But this is social engineering. They are pressing with the 15-minute cities. They are pressing with net zero. They are pressing with this, which is essentially penalizing the working man, because rich people or rich companies will not be as much affected. Pardon?
Women work.
Yeah, women. Yeah, but I'm thinking about the white man van and all these, tradesmen, craftsmen, people who need to go through central London, or all of London for that matter, for work, and now they have to get rid of
their nails done as well. And things like that.
Okay, we get all the allies that we need in this struggle. The point is, you have cars that are maybe just a decade old. These are good cars. You need to get rid of them. Get the electric car, for which you have these lithium batteries. How are they going to be produced? Under what conditions? Are we close to 5 minutes? How are we going to recycle the batteries?
You're going to red pill everybody.
Some of these cars, they're very expensive. So they are imposing a new lifestyle, all under this new religion of
They don't have to be
net
electric. I've got a car that is compliant with the new rules. It's still it's an unleaded petrol car.
Yeah, but just quickly, why can't we get rid of Sadiq Khan? Why does no one ever seems
to?
There's
something called democracy, so we have to wait to the next election and let's see, like you say, how many people actually genuinely do hate it.
Yeah, well, people just vote tribally, don't they? They just love to vote for him because he's on their side. I'm amazed we can't get rid of Sadiq Khan. I don't mean get rid of him in a January 6th kind of way.
I don't know if that's necessarily true. When people were, voting back in the day, they were going to vote for Labour. Where, when the London election. So, OK, we'll see.
Well, let's see. All right, that is it for that part of Nicholas List's batteries. But coming up in the next section, the EU's new Ministry of Truth. Dawn Butler goes full Dawn Butler, and Emma Thompson saves the planet on a super yacht. See you in a minute.
That warm feeling inside. From Boxed Boilers. Proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello again, it's Aidan McGivern here from the Met Office with the GB News forecast. Showers clearing overnight, some low cloud remaining, even some fog by dawn, but the trend is for it to turn increasingly sunny and increasingly warm over the next few days as high pressure replaces low pressure. Low pressure already filling and disappearing overnight, and as a result, the showers and any outbreaks of rain tending to become very isolated through the hours of darkness. A lot of low cloud, I think, especially for England and Wales, and some fog patches forming by dawn. But the clearest skies will be across northern Scotland. Here, temperatures dipping close to freezing in some of the most sheltered spots, single figures widely. Further south, it's a mild night, and again, there'll be some low cloud and mist as we start things off. But that will, through the morning, lift and it will break up. Eventually, we'll see some sunny spells break through. I think still some cloud remaining, still some showers across England and Wales, but not as many as recent days. There'll be plenty of fine weather on offer and it will feel warmer. 26 Celsius there, the high in the southeast, low 20s widely elsewhere. And into Sunday, again, a bit of a slow start, some mist and fog first thing, especially for southern parts of the UK. Breezier further north with some outbreaks of rain for the north and northwest of Scotland. That tends to ease later in the day as sunshine develops widely across the country in time for the start of next week. And as that happens, temperatures rise.
That warm feeling inside. From boxed boilers, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
The Live Desk with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Pip Thompson. It's here Monday to Friday on GB News.
From midday, we'll bring you the news as it breaks, whenever it's happening and wherever it's happening, from across the UK and around the world.
Refreshing, feisty, but with a bit of fun too.
If it matters to you, we'll have it covered on TV, radio and online.
Join the Live Desk on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
So Jubes and Kerr, we tackle the issues of the day with real, robust debate, both sides of the fence, battling it out with me in the middle with my forthright opinions and views. And often really interesting things happen because you start with a position and then by the end of the debate you find actually, well, I might not have thought about that one.
What we need in this country is 2 new political parties.
You should maybe think about doing a 2024 calendar. I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm keeping you company right through until 7 o'clock this evening.
GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's watching.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton, for 2 hours packed full of unfiltered opinions, unique takes, and fiery debates. I guarantee you blockbuster guests and exclusive reporting with no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I think there is a culture of collusion, quite frankly.
And no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio, and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In a world of dull and predictable radio and TV shows.
Oh, hi. On Mark Dolan tonight, we've got big guests. We drill into the big stories of the day. The show adds up to a brilliant listening and viewing experience. Mark Dolan Tonight is the most entertaining current affairs show ever, and that's a fact. That's Mark Dolan Tonight, Friday, Saturday and Sunday from 9. Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Like all families, we have arguments every now and then, but actually we agree on what the mission of GB News is, and that's the most fundamentally important thing.
GB News provides the kind of platform that lets all voices be heard.
We don't hold back. We're free to say what we really think.
Just because some people who live in a tiny little Westminster bubble think that their particular story is important, that's not the most important story for me.
And often they will be difficult stories, stories that you won't find on the establishment media.
Because what people think in the north of England may be very different to what they're thinking in the home counties.
We're going to carry on telling the world what life is really like for households up and down the UK.
We love to be in your car, in your kitchen as you're having your breakfast. Whatever you're doing, you are part of the show. If it matters to you, it matters to us.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. Let's get straight into it with the Mail. And the EU is demanding member states create ministries of truth. They must be trolling us at this point, Nicholas. This is ridiculous.
No, this is your typical EU, just as if you didn't need more reasons to be happy for having left it. EU is accused of taking a page out of Orwell's 1984 with the creation of ministries of truth that will ensure wrong thoughts are not allowed in a bid to tackle disinformation online.
Where's the Mail quoting that wrong thoughts are not allowed? Is that in the official pamphlet?
It's a Romanian MP. So this whole article just basically is all around the thoughts
MEP,
of...
yeah, remember.
Kristen Terras, whatever.
OK, but sorry, Nicholas, go on, I interrupt
you. So, yeah, basically, there's this new EU legislation called Digital Services Act, which has just come into effect. And they force platforms such as Twitter, Facebook, and lots of others, to come up with, and this is what he means by Ministry of Truth, so-called a network of trusted flaggers to flag so-called disinformation, harmful content, and so on and so forth. These, you know, who facts the fact-checkers, the same argument.
Trusted by whom was my question.
Exactly. So these are, because we've had it in the world of fact-checking, I mean, Facebook was already using them. These are institutes or sometimes branches of mainstream legacy media who fact-check you, so to speak. And now we are going to have more of these in different European countries to signal potential harmful or wrong information. And then if the platforms are not prompt enough to remove these, they will face hefty fines, sometimes as much as 6% of their annual income, which means obviously they will maybe err on the side of caution and therefore fiercely censor content.
So this applies to both member states and, like you say, online platforms. And if it wasn't sinister enough, when Elon Musk opted out of the voluntary version of this, the European EU Commissioner said you can run but you can't hide, which is just like very sinister EU stuff. What do you think, Josh? Is there any other take on this?
Yeah, well, look, it's a balancing act because the fact is there is Russian disinformation out there. There are bad actors at play using these platforms. There is child abuse and pornography out there. So there is a need for the EU to take action. Now, the question is getting the balance right, where it goes too far or veers into the 1984 thing. Also, some people might sort of see this as a sort of conspiracy of the idea that we're being controlled by these companies or by the people who are then controlling the companies. But at the same time, it's, you know, we did see supposed misinformation come out during COVID that turned out to be valid.
Yeah.
And then it's, you know, I personally think that it's not like that there's the conspiracy idea that this, but I do think that people are lazy, or by people I mean the people running the narrative in the newspapers. They don't want to investigate further. They want to go along with whatever narrative it is and don't want to challenge it. And that's where the danger comes from. It comes from journalists not doing their job. Now, I'm not a journalist. I just read what journalists do, but you can tell. And I believe they failed during things like COVID and whatnot.
Absolutely. I mean, if it was the real truth, whenever you hear Ministry of Truth, it's not going to be the actual truth, is it? Then we'd all be behind it. But it's obviously the Orwellian double-speaking. You go, OK, that's not going to be true. What it's going to be, surely... I take your point about things like child abuse stuff, and you say maybe they have to do something. The problem is the EU is already inherently undemocratic, sorry. And then you get this sort of stuff on top. It seems to me, Nicholas, the problem is it's just a sort of liberal elite's failure on a grand scale to engage with the people and their real struggles and their real opinions. Isn't it just they've lost control of the narrative, the EU and these other large bodies, and they're just saying we have to suppress, we have to decide what's misinformation and harmful content. There's even now malinformation, which is true information, but that they think is dangerous to release. Did you know that? There's misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation.
Whatever they can hang on to suppress information that is inconvenient. Now, of course, the proposals come from the EU Commission, which is not democratically elected. And we should remember that although the European Union has a parliament, the parliament cannot initiate legislation. They can only act on proposals by the Commission, so which holds the sole right to generate legislation. Anyway, having said that, this is already legislation anyway. And what we see that, for example, in terms of Russian disinformation, for 4 years, legacy media banged on about it. It came to nothing. I think this is just legacy media who have become the megaphone.
You're saying there isn't such a thing as Russian disinformation?
I'm saying either there is not, or if there is, not to the magnitude that justifies such a draconian measures. Because in the US, they had hundreds of pages of investigation, and ultimately, Trump is right now indicted for 4 charges. None of them has anything to do with Russia.
No, but that's not. But we're talking about what's happening with Germany and whatnot. Russia has been proven to be putting this information out there and to be trying to affect elections and whatnot. This isn't. Well, you know.
I think that's probably a massive other debate. And maybe let's move on and do the metro, shall we?
Sorry, they're the good guys. OK.
Well, unless you want to have it for another 5 minutes, I was just worried Nicholas would start listing battery types again. Maybe let's move on and do the metro with a provocative article about race from Dawn Butler. Does she write any other kind, Josh?
Yes, unless she's saying that babies, we don't know what sex that they're born with.
Oh, yeah.
That's her other massive influence. Contribution there to society. Society takes from black culture, but often doesn't want black people along with it. That's the headline. But really, it's a letter after it emerged that Tory mayor candidate, London Mayor Susan Hall, some comments came out where she called the wonderful, I don't know if you guys have been, Notting Hill Carnival. She said it was dangerous, and she said that there's a problem with crime in the black community. And Dawn Butler has used this as an opportunity to basically bag on her and call out the hypocrisy for events like Glastonbury or Reading, which also have crime and sexual assaults occur as well. But no one seems to be adding their angle to it. That might be a justifiable position. The problem with Dawn Butler is she seems to be continuously going down this road. And only a few days ago, there was a whole incident with saying Suella Braverman wouldn't be able to say what she says if it wasn't for her ethnicity, and almost sort of implying that the Tories were just sort of using her as opposed to her having her own agency and ideas.
Yeah, and that was strange because it disproved Dawn Butler's own kind of theories about white privilege, because she was saying Suella would be in a worse position if she was white, but just ironically. But yeah, I know, yeah, she may have a point about Glastonbury and stuff. What do you think, Nicholas? The thing that bothers me is she's just trying to get Susan Hall in trouble. She wants to force an apology out of her. That annoys me. She also makes a point at the end that racism is bad for everyone. I'm thinking, well, it's quite good for Dawn Butler because she gets to write so many articles, but what do you think?
Exactly. I don't think she's making that good a point, to be honest, because I'm no fan of Glastonbury and people who attend Glastonbury and the political message that comes out of Glastonbury. But last year in Notting Hill Carnival, 275 people were arrested. One participant died. One police horse died. I mean, has it happened in Glastonbury? I don't think so. So if there's any problem, let's face it and let's try to solve it, rather than just going after the Conservative candidate for London Mayor.
OK, well, let's move on and do the Times. And if you thought foreign autocrats own most of the UK's property, well, you're wrong. It's actually their children, Nicholas.
£200 million worth of UK property is owned by children of autocratic rulers and allies. Basically, the new development is that we now have this register of overseas entities, which was established after the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. A lot of these lucrative properties are owned by companies based overseas, and until now, the owners of these properties were not known, whereas now it has become public. And that's why we see the Times has done this investigation. They have accessed the register, they have accessed land registry data, and they have come up with those people, usually as close family members of autocratic rulers of countries overseas, who own a hefty portfolio of properties here, like the relatives of the Azerbaijani lifetime president, I think I can call him, 20 years in power. Then the family of the Kazakh president, former president who ruled
the former
Kazakhstan
one, it's the former one, even the current one. I was gutted about that.
Well, the current one are amassing the wealth.
Yeah, I don't know, Josh. It seems. What do you think of this? They own. I mean,
it seems like obvious. I mean, it's just like what Central London is owned by a bunch of foreign people, and their relatives basically got up to some no good. Like, yeah, what implication does this have to us as a country? There is an argument about ethics in terms of, people from these regimes being able to put their money into this country, but then. But in terms of us and what we're trying to and live our lives, it's like, are we going, oh no, I can't buy that 10 million property now because I got gazumped by the daughter of Kazakhstan.
I'm also not sure how you stop it. But one funny thing is, one of the problems we have with Azerbaijan is that the government exerts large influence over large sectors of the media, which of course would never happen in a Western country. But I think we should move on because we've got this really good story next. In the Mail, it's Emma Watson, who's been doing very important work to save the world from a £200 million super yacht.
You said Emma Watson, didn't you? Emma Thompson.
Did I? Well, they both got a lot of problems, to be honest. It says Emma Watson in the autocue, so I'm blaming whoever wrote that.
Emma Thompson.
Probably also me, but it's an earlier me who was a different person. I've learnt and grown
well,
since then.
I disagree with you. I think this is a rubbish article. Emma Thompson goes from XR protest boat to Fox TV founder's super yacht. And they make it seem like it's just happened. There's a 4-year gap between these events. And this is meant to be some kind of gotcha. Like, oh, guess what? Surprise, surprise, it turns out that famous rich people are hypocrites. Boom. And 4 years later, from being at this protest in Oxford Circus 4 years ago, environmental protest, here she is now on a yacht. But actually, the weird thing is it's not as massive a gotcha as they think, because she sort of vowed after being gotcha'd last time by flying into that protest, so, right, well, I'm going to use less planes. Yeah. So now she's using a boat.
Now she's using super yachts. Yeah, she's really scaled down. I don't know the carbon footprint or the aquatic alternative, Nicholas, of this particular boat, but isn't it that people are just sick of being lectured in the way that Ricky Gervais exposed or sort of alluded to in the Golden Globes? We're just sick of being lectured by rich celebrities who don't understand normal people's lives.
I think we need more of these stories because it again gets to the core of the idea that it's one rule for me and another for thee, right? We have hypocritical A-listers who have another lifestyle, and then it's not just eco-environmentalism, it's other they have those who can afford private security want to defund the police in the US, those who have mansions surrounded by moats and barbed wire want more immigration. So this is just another example.
That's the runners of the Black Lives Matter, isn't it?
Yeah, good point. All right, we've got to move on. But and we can't confirm whether Emma Watson was or was not on that yacht. But that is it for part 3. But coming up in the final section, the Pentagon sets up a UFO website, AIs write deadly books, and we find out who is the real top G. See you soon.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Dubes & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Jacob Rees-Mogg. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by headliners on TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
Now then, Lee Anderson here. Join me on GB News on my show, The Real World, every Friday at 7 p.m.
I'm not eating bloody cat. Are you
Delicious.
mental?
Open your mouth. OK, here comes a train.
Reminds me of the scene in Singing in the Rain.
Adam, is that a good one?
Whoa! Join me at 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, on Sunday mornings from 9:30, taking the politicians to task and breaking out of SW1 to see how their decisions are affecting you across the UK. Bursting the Westminster bubble every Sunday morning, only on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain's watching.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it. So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Every Sunday from 11, join Michael Portillo.
There'll be topical discussion, looking at the week before and the week to come. So kick back and relax at 11 a.m. on Sundays on GB News with me, Michael Portillo. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I joined GB News because I was sick and tired of not hearing my views being represented, not just mine, but so many people that I knew and spoke to.
I just couldn't get my voice out there. I couldn't say anything. I couldn't do anything. Whatever the narrative was, I kind of had to follow it.
GB News is there to provide a voice for those who have been ignored by the establishment media. We think different things, we've got a different style.
GB News is here to be optimistic and positive about the future.
It's real kind of dynamic and flowing, with the audience very much at the heart of it, like a big family.
Here at GB News, we talk about the things that matter to you.
Hearing the voices from right across our towns and cities, especially our towns.
All sides of the argument represented with a heavy dose of opinion.
We're on a mission here to make a difference. And the GB News family really is here for you, and whatever time of day you can watch or listen.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel. Welcome back to Headliners. Let's get straight into it with The Telegraph. And the leader of the Florida Proud Boys has been jailed for 17 years for his role in the January 6th protest. Now, is this the right outcome or just a two-tier justice system at work, Nicholas?
Proud Boys Florida leader jailed for 17 years over Capitol riots. So 2 main leaders of the group Proud Boys, Joe Biggs and Zachary Rail, have received 17 and 15 years respectively.
Yeah,
you see,
and I've since heard that Ethan Nordine has got 18 years. That's breaking since this was published.
That one was the heaviest one ever, and these are the second heaviest ones. In Italy, we have a saying, we say, the law to your enemies, you apply it, and for your friends, you interpret it. So we've seen all these mostly peaceful protests over the past few years, the BLM, we saw the autonomous, self-declared independent nation of Portland, you know, and all those kind of stuff. Where were these hefty punishments for them? To me, it seems that the two-tier system that you say is actually the case.
They didn't invade Congress.
Yeah.
So what?
Well,
I'll
give you. I'll tell you what. I'll say what Nicholas means, Josh, and then you can go. I mean, basically, the idea Conservatives are saying this guy basically damaged the fence. He's got 17 years. He's got a 6-year-old daughter, and you compare it to, for example, the New York City attorney who got 15 months for firebombing a police car, or the highest sentence an Antifa person has got is 10 years for plotting to blow up a load of people. That was Malik
I think that's
Mohammed.
wrong. No, I think that's wrong. I think they should get more. Absolutely. But they have been now found guilty of seditious conspiracy. That's a very serious crime.
But is it inflated, is the question?
Well, I mean, the facts are that, Trump lied and said that there was a fraud, and they went in, they said, we're declaring war. This is the guy who's been now sentenced for 16 years, 17 years. He says, he tweeted out, it's time for war, and then they invaded the Capitol. It's more than a protest. They literally invaded Congress. So, yes, there is, as it said here, the judge says, yes, there's a need for deterrence. They tried to overthrow.
Need for deterrence is what they say also in Saudi Arabia.
Well,
let's just cut off the thief's hand just to deter others.
Well, they got 18 years. We'll see how long they actually serve for it.
Understandably, or interestingly, their defense attorney says, if this is sedition, why is even Trump is not accused of sedition?
No. What but you're trying to say it like it's like they're basically saying that they're blaming Trump. That's very funny.
No, they are blaming Trump. But
yeah,
if they were linear, they would have. They know this is not sedition because a bunch of guys got animated and rushed into the Congress.
No, they're basically saying you should also they're saying you should also prosecute Trump for sedition, but he's got his own prosecution.
And they are not, because it's not sedition.
Well, no, but they didn't. But he has been prosecuted for doing,
Okay. Well, we're certainly not going to agree on this, but it was a good debate. And let's do the Mail now. And a UFO website has been set up by some crazy conspiracy theorists called the US Defense Department, Josh.
Pentagon to launch one-stop shop UFO website so public can see all the declassified photos, videos and reports after Congress demanded answers about non-human aircraft. So I don't know. I'm not necessarily convinced that people really do actually care. After all of these, all this testimony that came out, no actual real evidence seems to have come out. I don't believe that what they're going to be putting on this website is going to be like the real deal. We're going to see aliens walking around or whatnot. If you want to find out for yourself, you just go to xfiles.com and you can see for yourself. One guy saying that he heard from a bunch of other people, and just because he used to work in the intelligence services isn't evidence enough for me to keep.
OK. Well, there's a former intelligence official saying that the first recovery of a UFO was in Magenta, Italy in 1933. And there was that Bob Lazar documentary, Nicholas, I found quite convincing. But now the government's saying it, is everyone just going to get bored? Because it's not much fun to have a sort of conspiracy theory that the government's approved. Anyway, what do you think?
That's right. Generally, I'm skeptical as well, because I don't think governments are generally so good at keeping secrets. And especially nowadays, everybody's got a smartphone. All these sightings, nobody has ever taken a picture.
Your point. Not like the Loch Ness Monster, where we've got hard picture evidence now. Let's do the Independent then. And apparently at one time in history, the entire human population was down to about 1,000 people. Please just don't tell Bill Gates how it was done. You see what I did there?
Scientists, yeah, I see. Scientists, good one. Uncovered devastating event that may have led to humanity's doom 900 years ago. This is a fascinating story. Basically, they have decided, they have found evidence that suggests that about 900,000 years ago, the whole human race was reduced to just over 1,000 individuals who might as well have perished, so the human race might have perished altogether, but they managed to sustain themselves. The reason this number was so drastically shrunk is presumably climate change.
Yeah,
which stars are they going to blame this one on?
Yeah, they said climate change is like ancient propaganda.
Well,
what do you think?
This is a pro-climate change article, because they're saying because of this only 1,000 people, they led to like a bit of inbreeding, and that's what created the chromosome 2 in modern humans. So actually, every cloud, burn more.
All right, well, very, very quickly, shall we do this next one in the Mail? Because we all thought the top G was Andrew Tate, but turns out it's God. They both follow me on Twitter anyway, Josh.
Yeah, the Gospel, according to Gen Z TikTok account, updates the Bible with modern slang terms, calling God the top G. So I was wondering if you were going to be offended by that. But this is how they described Mary getting pregnant with Jesus. Mary was a pick-me girl for God. That's like someone who's like trying to prove how good they are. And she was simping for him in prayer, like going over the top, and appeared and said, "You've passed God's vibe check, and he wants you to be the mother of the main character, the son of the
Okay, in 10 seconds, Nicholas, is this blasphemous or getting the kids into religion?
It's not the worst blasphemous thing I've heard nowadays, but I'm not a fan myself.
Okay, well, all right, great show, guys. Thanks very much. Let's go to the papers then. one more look at Saturday's front pages. So the Daily Mail has hundreds more schools at risk. There it is. The Daily Telegraph, Braverman, woke police damaging police trust. The Times, when will this school crisis end? Ask parents. The Financial Times, weekend revisions give economy surprise lift. The Weekend, hundreds more schools await safety checks despite collapse risk warning to ministers in 2019. The Mirror, what a mess. About the schools again, and those were your front pages. That is it for tonight's show. Thanks to Josh and Nicholas. Headliners is back tomorrow at 11 p.m. with these two fine gentlemen once again. And if you're watching at 5 a.m, then of course stay tuned for breakfast. But from now, for me, it's good night, good morning, and God bless.
The temperature's rising. Boxed Solar, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello again, it's Aidan McGivern here from the Met Office with the GB News forecast. Showers clearing overnight, some low cloud remaining, even some fog by dawn, but the trend is for it to turn increasingly sunny and increasingly warm over the next few days as high pressure replaces low pressure. Low pressure already filling and disappearing overnight, and as a result, the showers and any outbreaks of rain tending to become very isolated through the hours of darkness. A lot of low cloud, I think, especially for England and Wales, and some fog patches forming by dawn. But the clearest skies will be across northern Scotland. Here, temperatures dipping close to freezing in some of the most sheltered spots, single figures widely. Further south, it's a mild night, and again, there'll be some low cloud and mist as we start things off. But that will, through the morning, lift and it will break up. Eventually, we'll see some sunny spells break through. I think still some cloud remaining, still some showers across England and Wales, but not as many as recent days. There'll be plenty of fine weather on offer and it will feel warmer. 26 Celsius there, the high in the southeast, low 20s widely elsewhere. And into Sunday, again, a bit of a slow start, some mist and fog first thing, especially for southern parts of the UK. Breezier further north with some outbreaks of rain for the north and northwest of Scotland. That tends to ease later in the day as sunshine develops widely across the country in time for the start of next week. And as that happens, temperatures rise.
The temperature's rising. Boxed Solar, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.
It's a conversation. It's not just me and Eamon.
We want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us.
From 6, it's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Monday to Thursdays on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster is going around in ever-decreasing circles, followed by the media. Britain is broken. How on earth did we get into this mess? But more importantly, how do we get out of it? Join me at 7 p.m, Mondays to Thursdays on Farage, here on GB News. We will have open, rational debate. We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this. Join us here on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain is watching.
When the news happens, it happens here.
And really important breaking news.
Breaking news this morning.
On TV, radio and online, the news starts here on Britain's Newsroom.
All the biggest stories and the answers that you need from across the UK and beyond.
Join Britain's Newsroom from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Patrick Christie's, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6. We tackle the day's news agenda like you've never seen before. It's high tempo, high octane, the most controversial topics and the best guests. You will not be able to take your eyes and ears off it. I'm not afraid to ask the questions that you really want answered. 3 till 6 p.m, Monday to Friday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
People in Britain, they love free speech, but they also love fair play.
I don't care if I'm speaking somebody from a trade union, from the Labour Party, somebody from the SNP. And I think the viewers like to see that actually we can challenge one another, but in a positive way.
We think we ask the questions that people want to ask, and often we ask the questions that we wanted to ask in Parliament but never got the chance to ask.
So join us every Saturday, 10 a.m. till noon on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
It's all about family, being in people's living rooms, all the interaction and getting to know who our viewers and listeners are.
When I was young, my dad used to say, Nana, stop arguing. I wanted an outlet that would enable me to give my opinion.
People are going through a really hard time right now, and I know that you don't feel like you're being listened to by the establishment. I came to GB News because it's the people's channel, and I want the audience to have their say on the events of the day.
We're dynamic. We do something different.
Democracy shows that the wisdom of the nation is in its people.
I get to travel to find out what the story is from a personal perspective.
The British people aren't fools. We know when we're not being